Training camp is over in St. Joseph, Missouri, so you know what that means. We're shifting our focus to the regular season. I've got some of the best player totals that I'm going to talk to you about on today's KCSN Update, brought to you by DraftKings.
You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts or on our YouTube channel, all over social media, or our morning newsletter, KCSN Daily, dedicated to your Kansas City Chiefs. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
All right, before I tell you about these over-unders, these player totals, let me tell you about our friends at DraftKings in Kansas. DraftKings Sportsbook is coming to the Sunflower State. It won't be long until you can bet on all your favorite sports from the comfort of your own home. To celebrate, all new customers will receive $100 in free bets when you sign up using code KCSN. Plus, one lucky customer will win a $100,000 free bet. That's right. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving you $100 in free bets just for signing up today. No deposit required. Soon you'll be able to bet on money lines, spreads, props, and more with one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps, DraftKings Sportsbook. Plus, you'll be entered to win a $100,000 free bet when you sign up. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code KCSN to get $100 in free bets to use once mobile sports betting hits Kansas. Plus, one customer will win a $100,000 free bet. That's code KCSN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 800-522-4700. Must be 21 years or older. Physically present in Kansas. Eligibility restrictions apply. See terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. One per customer. $100 issued as $425 free bets. No purchase necessary for sweepstakes. Void where prohibited. Ends first day. DraftKings is allowed to operate in Kansas. See terms at dkng.co/KS. Before we get into those player totals, those over-unders, I want to bring up some comments on our last video yesterday. BJ and I talked about his 53-man roster projection and kind of the guys he had on there. We had a discussion about who he had projected on making that Chiefs final roster. Some of your comments we're going to throw up on screen. I'm going to read some of your comments, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to have some dialogue here about who kind of we left off on this 53-man roster and who you guys thought should be on or shouldn't be on this roster. So the first one I want to start with here, this is from Still Crazy 2195. No spot for Nazeeh Johnson at this time. I have been pleasantly surprised by his camp. While yes, Nazeeh Johnson has played well, I just think there's too many cooks in the kitchen for him to make that at cornerback room. You look at that depth chart at cornerback, you got Trent McDuffie, Joshua Williams, DiCaprio Bootle, L'Jarius Sneed, Rashad Fenton, Jalen Watson. I don't know one of those guys that you would take off for Nazeeh Johnson. And that's going to be kind of tough if you wanted to even say, oh, he could be a safety. He's not going to beat off Deion Bush. He's not going to beat Brian Cook. So those situation there makes it a little tough. I think he'll be on the practice squad. I think he's very much a practice squad guy. But if you start looking at this, the next corner you're talking about adding, the next defensive back you're talking about adding is going to be Chris Lamons. It's not going to be Nazeeh Johnson, and that's just because of Lamon's special teams ability. That's nothing against Nazeeh Johnson. I think that I'm excited to see what he can do, what he can grow, but I think practice squad is probably the best role for him right now. I think that's probably where he's going to end up. So he has had a good camp, always good to see, but I don't think that there's a spot for him on this roster at this time. All right, the second comment I want to talk about, this is from Jay Gonzo. I'd rather have Rojo than McKinnon. Interesting perspective here on Ronald Jones and McKinnon. Two kind of different styles of running backs, but what I think is the benefit for McKinnon is he mixes in there within the pass game. He will get in there and pass protect with the best of them, with the best of the running backs. That was one of his big draws coming into Kansas City, is his pass protection. Still is a good reason that he is on this team. And I mentioned this on yesterday's KCSN update too. I think I think Jerick McKinnon has really benefited from being okay. He hasn't had a stellar camp. He hasn't had a bad camp. But by him just being okay and just like being consistently okay, I think he's going to benefit from that just because, you know, Ronald Jones didn't play very well in the first preseason games. Derek Gore didn't play very well in the first preseason games. Yeah, Isaiah Pacheco's playing well. Knowing what you're going to get from Jerick McKinnon is huge. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, I think, too. I wouldn't be surprised if Ronald Jones does make this roster. He could be one of those guys that sneaks in as a fourth running back if they don't keep a tight end, and a tight end 4, which is entirely possible. The configuration of this offense is, I think, loose and fluid at this moment. I think they're keeping 6 wide receivers. I think they're keeping 9 offensive linemen. They're going to keep 2 quarterbacks, 1 fullback. Those are about it. So it's going to come down to, are you going to take 4 running backs? Are you going to take 4 running backs, 4 tight ends? How are you going to split those kind of 8 positions left up? It's going to be interesting to see. Ronald Jones could come out and have a really good preseason game on Saturday and make me look like a fool. I'd be okay with that. I just want the 53 best guys to make this roster. Jerick McKinnon right now is in that best 53. Last comment I want to talk about here on our YouTube video from yesterday. Hey, if you haven't watched it, go check that out. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of our videos coming out every single day for you. This one's from Robin Graver, Wanago instead of Ryder. Yes, I understand the infatuation with Prince Tega Wanago, however you want to say it. He's a really good athlete. He can move well. He's one of those guys that if he could stay healthy, I think that he would be on this roster, but guy can't stay healthy. Austin Ryder has shown the positional versatility to play guard and center, especially in this camp. He can do it. Now, how well can he play guard and center is up for debate, but I think that the positional versatility is something that Andy Reid and Andy Heck always like, so that's going to be something that weighs heavy in the decision-making. Now, I'd love to see Prince be that swing tackle, but again, he can't really stay healthy. He was out at the beginning of camp. I'm not very optimistic about him seeing time on this roster, seeing major time on this roster as a healthy guy. So I think that's kind of where Ryder comes in over Prince. I would love Prince to make this roster, but I think that just realistically looking at it, the positional versatility plus the health, and Austin Ryder doesn't really get hurt either. He hasn't really been hurt in his career, knock on wood. I think that that's going to be a really big decision-making factor for this team moving forward. All right, let's get into the over-unders for this season. These are set by our friends at DraftKings at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Remember, at the top of the show, you enter code KCSN, you can get $100 in free bets. That's given to you in 4 $25 free bets. So at the end of this video, I'm going to give you 4 of these that I would put my $25 on for these bets. So let's get into it. First one, Patrick Mahomes, regular season passing yards. The over-under is set at 4,650 and a half. So that's 4,650 and a half yards. Do I think Patrick Mahomes can get over that? I absolutely do. The over is valued at minus 110, so it's evenly favored with the under at minus 110. It's a very exciting thing this year for Patrick Mahomes. This offense can be so tantalizing, I think is the word I want to use, because of the prospects that they have. There's a video tweeted out from KC Sports Network from the Rich Eisen show about Rich Eisen going on, waxing poetically about this Chiefs offense now that Tyreek Hill's gone. Can this offense be a little bit more versatile? I think so. It can be a little bit more explosive. Maybe. Can it be a little bit more efficient? Absolutely. I think it can be more efficient. And one of the points that Rich Eisen brought up was the pass to Tyreek Hill at the end zone, in the goal line, in the red zone at the end of the AFC West, at the end of the first half of the AFC Championship game. Maybe felt like Patrick Mahomes had to force it there. Maybe you don't have that feeling anymore with Patrick Mahomes and the receivers they have. I like the over on this one. And let's go to passing touchdowns, 34 and a half. That's an interesting one as well. Minus 120 is at the over. The over is valued at minus 120, under at plus 100. So Vegas and our friends at DraftKings favoring the over for passing touchdowns, 34.5. Listen, I think this is going to be a big year for Patrick Mahomes. Nate Taylor was a little bit, I don't want to say down on Patrick Mahomes because that's not fair to Nate. He didn't think that this is going to be his best statistical year because, listen, 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, hard to beat. But I think he beats these numbers that DraftKings has set. Moving on, let's talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. His regular season rushing yards total is set at 700.5. Do we think Clyde Edwards-Helaire can get more than 700 yards rushing? Those are both, the over and under are both evenly favored at minus 115 for that. I am personally going to go with the under. I don't like to bet the under very much. I don't like it. It's way more fun to bet the over. Listen, to cheer for yards, to cheer for points is way more fun to cheer than not cheer for them, right? I mean, that's a pretty simple way to put it. Last season, Clyde had 517 yards, and with more running backs in the backfield to kind of split time with Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, potentially Ronald Jones as well, if they do keep 4. Hard for me to see him get over that 700-yard mark. I just don't think that that's going to be possible for Clyde. And let's talk about his rushing touchdowns as well. They have 5.5 set at the over/under. The undervalued favorite at minus 135. The over at plus 105. When you look at what he had last year, he had 4 last year. I believe the year before he had 6. So you're looking at a pretty good line set by our friends at DraftKings. I like this line. I'm going to go with the, you know what? I'll go with the over. I'll take the plus 105 over right there. An optimistic little blip, I guess you could say. He gets targets in the red zone. He gets the ball in the red zone, gets some touchdowns there. I think that's a way that he can get over that 5.5 mark. But a good line set by our friends at DraftKings. Let us know what you think in the comment section below about these over-unders so far. I want to know what you guys think. If you were hammering the over on Patrick, if you're hitting the under on Clyde stuff, let us know. Let's talk about a newest Kansas City Chiefs member. That is JuJu Smith-Schuster. Our friends at DraftKings have his regular season receiving yards set at 750.5. Good line there, but I think I am hammering that over. The over is valued at minus 120, under at minus 110, 110. So our friends at DraftKings do think the over is going to happen. I agree with them just because I think that it's a very good possibility that the Kansas City Chiefs could have 3 1,000-yard receivers when you talk about Travis Kelce, JuJu Smith-Schuster, maybe MVS, maybe Skyy Moore, a guy we'll talk about later. So I think that this over is a huge hit for me. Let's talk about his regular season touchdowns, over 6.5. Another one where touchdowns are tough because there's a lot of guys to share, a lot of guys to go around here when it comes to touchdowns. The over valued at plus 100, undervalued at minus 130. So DraftKings really thinks that under is going to hit. I'm going to go with the over. More fun to hit the over. Plus 100. Get your money back on that bet. I like plus 6.5 on touchdowns. You can catch 7 touchdowns. Sure. Another new Chief is rookie wide receiver Skyy Moore. He comes in with his regular season receiving yards set at 680.5. That under is valued at minus 115. The over is also evenly valued at minus 115 as well. I'm probably going to hit the under on this one just because 680 is a lot of yards, and if we're talking maybe scrimmage yards, I'm hitting the over on 680. Receiving yards is a little bit tougher. I think they want to use Skyy Moore in a lot of different ways, so I don't like this one. I'm kind of staying away from this one. I think if you've got your $425 free bets, I'd stay away from this one right here. Let's talk about his season receiving touchdowns. Over 4.5, I'm hitting that. I am hitting 4.5. He's going to get at least 5. I like that a lot for Skyy Moore. That over is valued at plus 100 to get your money back on that pick. Under at minus 130. Listen, I just got done talking about JuJu and having to share a bunch of stuff with different receivers, different weapons on this offensive line, or offense just in general. I think that it probably runs into the same thing, but I like what they can do with Skyy Moore a little bit more, for lack of a better term, no pun intended. I like what they can do a little bit more with him. Just at the goal line, there's different situations we've seen him end up in. That gets me more excited, so I'm hammering that over. Last but certainly not least, it is Travis Kelce. Got a big total set for him for his season receiving yards, regular season receiving yards at 1,100.5. So if he gets 1,101 yard, that would be the over. The under is valued at -120, the over at -110. Our friends at DraftKings, they're saying that they think that the under is more likely. The under is favored. Doesn't matter. Hitting the over, crushing the over. Option number one for this Chiefs defense is safety valve for Patrick Mahomes. Who are you going to stop? You're not going to stop Travis Kelce. They've tried to do it for years, and they're not going to stop him. So why not hit this over? Have some fun. Cheer for some yards. Cheer for some history. I think this is going to be the 7th time. If he eclipses 1,000 yards again this year, this will be the 7th straight season Travis Kelce eclipses 1,000 yards in a season. Unbelievable. He's already done things that tight ends have not done before. He's going to continue to do them. So I'm hammering that over. Let's talk about his regular season touchdowns. That is at 9.5. 9.5 for regular season touchdowns. Ooh, evenly valued at -115 from our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. And again, when you talk about touchdowns, it's kind of tough. So I think I'm going to go with the over on this. 10 touchdowns for Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce doesn't seem very unlikely. I like the odds there, especially because, as I mentioned earlier, that's a safety valve. So I like the over on both Travis Kelce lines from DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, I know this is what you all have been waiting for. If you use that code KCSN, like I mentioned before in the show, you get $100 in free bets. They're going to give you 4 $25 free bets. Here are the 4 over-unders that I'm going to put my money on. First, I've got to go with the over Patrick Mahomes on passing yards. It's going to be too big of a year for Patrick Mahomes not to put your money on this over. 4,650.5, crushing that. He's getting more than that. Put your money on Patrick Mahomes. In the same breath, I want to throw the over on Travis receiving yards. Travis Kelce receiving yards. As I mentioned earlier, it is at 11,000.5. 11,000.5. He's too good. He's too good to hit the under. Life's too short to bet the under. Got to hit the over on Travis Kelce here. Dude keeps doing things we've never seen before. So why is he going to stop doing that? I don't think he's going to hit the over on that one. Another over that I'm going to hit, JuJu Smith-Schuster on touchdowns. I was a little leery of it when I was talking about it, but I talked myself into it because of the value. You look at the regular season receiving touchdowns, over 6.5 is valued at +100. Get your money back on that bet. If he catches 7 touchdowns, which I think is a very real possibility, get your money back. It'll be great. It'll be great. I think that's a good value bet right there. Put your 25 down that you don't have any skin in the game. At that point, you put your 25 down on that, get your money back plus the 25 too. So I think that is a good bet to place on there. And the last one, I think I'm gonna bet an under. Guys, I'm gonna do it. I know I'm gonna sound like a pessimist, but I got to bet an under because I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushing yards, the under is going to be the good number there. You look at that total, that is 700.5. I think he gets under 700. He had 515 last year, 514 last year. You look at that. You look at the more running backs in the room. I think the under is the smart play here. That is valued at -115. They're both evenly valued right now. So if you go to DraftKings Sportsbook, you will be able to get that bet. Starting September 1st, we got some news from Alex Gold at 610 reported that September 1st, Kansas will have sports betting. Good day. So make sure you sign up with code KCSN because once the sports betting starts in Kansas, you can't get this deal any longer. So make sure to go and support us with DraftKings Sportsbook, good friends of ours here at the program. All right, that is going to do it for today's episode of KCSN Update. If you like the show, let us know in the comment section below. Did you like this style? Did you like me running through some of these betting lines heading into the season? Might do it more often. Let me know what you think down in the comment section, and we'll be sure to talk to you and bring those comments up on a later video. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching and subscribing. If you don't subscribe, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a KCSN video. Make sure to hit that bell, too. Get that notification bell on so you don't miss a video. You literally will not be able to miss one because we will notify you every single time something posts here on KCSN. Make sure to stay tuned to these channels as well, as we're going to have a live post-game show following the Chiefs and Commanders preseason game. It'll probably be around 6 is when we'll be done with that game, when we're going to go live, just because the game starts at 3. That's probably about when. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're looking out on our channels for that. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at KC Sports Network. Until next time, happy Red Friday, Chiefs Kingdom. I'll talk to you next week.